Hey, yo, what's good, y'all? Yo, a nerd is back, and I'm here with another conversation with creators. And today I have Ian Walker. What's up, Ian? How you doing today?
What's good, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good as always. I'm still alive, so that's always good.
Blessings on blessings on blessings.
Right.
Nice.
So just to get this started, if you could just introduce yourself and your comic book company.
All right. Yeah. So my name is Ian Walker. I am the owner and founder of Obsidian Studios, LLC. It's based out here in Texas. What I do is I create independent comic books, and the I guess pilot series or the first official series in Obsidian is my comic book series, Pantheon. And always looking to add more to the mix later on, in the future. But yeah, that's what we're focusing on as the flagship title of Pantheon.
Okay. And could you speak a little bit more about Pantheon? What is it about?
So Pantheon is a story. I think it's kind of a unique story. It's about a superhero, of course, who the main protagonist, Vassell, comes from a species of conquerors. They've already conquered their galaxy, and they have decided now to start spreading out. So they came to Earth thousands of years ago to begin conquest of Earth. And once he came here during that first phase conquest, Vassell started kind of having a change of conscience, a crisis of conscience. And what happened was that, he started having thoughts of saying that, there's always or eventually is going to be a bigger and better species out there that could come and conquer us. So we as a people need to change and become students of the universe instead of just conquerors of it. So what we need to do is change our ways, gather the people that we've conquered, kind of let them know what we want to do, and kind of make a change in that way. And with things that were happening on Earth, the way they were going about that, he just did. For some reason, he had done it for thousands of years, but this one just didn't settle right with him. So, as a part of that change, after starting to try to institute that change back on his home planet, he decides to kind of put his money where his mouth is, and he goes to Earth and makes a life pact with humanity to become the protector, but most importantly, to undo everything that his race of people, the Demosians, started thousands of years ago when they came to Earth during the first phase. And so the story is about a character. It's kind of told from the alien's perspective. Vassell is not Superman. Okay, so he's not a guy who comes from another planet. It's like, oh, Earth is my home, and I love all humans. That is not him. He's a good guy with a good heart. He really is good inside, but his personality is pretty abrasive. He's arrogant, has a terrible superiority complex. But coming here to Earth, he kind of learns more about himself. He learns how to deal with humanity with a little bit of help, and starts understanding that his way of doing things isn't always the best. And as he's here, he starts to understand the toll that the things that his people do as conquerors are taking on other lives. And so he's having to face consequences through that because of, he's now he's pretty much the sole representative of his people. So he's having to take responsibility for that. He's having to learn lessons, and he's going through a journey of growth and change through that.
Okay. And what inspired you to make the story and write the story?
Um, I've always I've always loved comic books ever since I was a kid. 7 years old, picked up my first Superman comic book. Uh, and I've created superheroes since I was a kid. So that's not new to me. But as far as Pantheon is concerned, I was very inspired by Invincible and reading that series. And so there's some little beats from that, but it goes a lot further, of course, and it has my own, unique take on that as far as what the story is gonna bring out. But I like elementals. I like fantasy as well. I'm a fantasy, sci-fi, superhero genre. So melding all of those things together, you know, that's what kind of helped me to put together the idea of Pantheon.
Okay, I like that. And so, what kind of got you started into making comics? What kind of gave you the push?
That first Superman comic book. I would go and I almost remember it like it was yesterday, man. My dad would take me to the park. He actually had a group of his homeboys that he would go to the local park, play basketball, and every time at the end of every basketball game, we go to the local corner market over in California. I'm from California, and it's called Quick Stop. So they're kind of similar to Quick Trips here in Texas, but you go to Quick Stop, I got a slush puppy and a comic book. And my first comic book had, Superman and the Guardian on there. And after just reading comic books and then my dad seeing that I had an interest in it, me finding out that he was a massive comic book collector, and then he kind of told me about the stuff that he was into and got me into it even more. And so after reading a lot of that stuff, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? I could do this. I could draw some pictures and make up my own stories. So, that just evolved into that. I had good friends when I was little. Two old friends of mine, Will Roberts and then David Wilson. We would hang out with each other. And we create our own superheroes and stories and stuff. Separate stories, separate teams, separate things, but it's two separate friends, but mutual interests. So it was cool. But ever since, I've been making comics, dude, ever since I was like 8 years old, man.
Dang. Dang, that's a long time, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I know about it, but professionally, starting to make money off it since 2008.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So also with you, I see that with Pantheon, you are the writer, you are the artist, and you are the letterer for the comic.
Yeah.
That's a lot to do. How do you manage that? Like, what is your process? What is your process that helps you manage doing all three?
When it comes to um creating something, I'm gonna tell you something. I don't like looking stupid. I don't. I like looking dumb. So if I can't do it right, I don't do it at all.
Right.
So and I also have a PhD in procrastination. So the fact of the matter is that for me, knowing who I am, I could be very organized at times, and then other times I could be, very just see what happens. But when it comes to something that I really, really want to do, I make sure that I get very organized. So what I did was for myself, I created a set of systems that I put together, and I created that system for myself, and it's been consistent and it's worked, every time. And it's worked so much, now the fourth issue of Pantheon, just the Kickstarter just finished up for that got funded. So, and it's not.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. And it's cool because usually when it comes to indie comics, you're lucky if an indie comic gets to the third issue. You know what I'm saying? Life gets in
Yes.
the way, a lot of things happen. So, getting to issue 4 is a big accomplishment. But getting back to your question of what I do and my process, I don't. When it came to Ryan Pantheon, I pretty much drew a preliminary picture of what I thought in my mind at the time the hero would look like. And then I sat down and created a general story of the story that I wanted to tell. After that, I then took that general synopsis, then I kind of really broke everything down in a general synopsis. Then I made summaries from that synopsis. Then from each of those summaries, I created scripts for each issue, or script ideas from each issue. And then from those ideas for each issue, then I would create the actual script for each one. Um, and I do that actually one at a time. So with the whole thing, I have the full synopsis, then I have the issue breakdowns. And then when I get done with an issue, when I get done with the issue, drawing it out, putting it together, get it on Kickstarter, funding it, so on and so forth. Once all that's done, then I go back to my issue breakdown for the next issue. And then I'll fill out any holes, because things change, when you create a book, sometimes for the story to make sure everything's cohesive. So I go back, make sure everything is cohesive and everything makes sense, that there's no plot holes. And then I get to writing the next script. and I continue that process all the way through.
Okay, so you like you said you fully script out like say I believe Pantheon number one I have right here I believe that's 24 pages. So
Mhm.
you script out the full 24 pages before you even draw anything.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay, yeah. I was
But
wondering that like
yeah,
with reading it, like how did you like do you like write a page and then immediately draw it or do you draw it because it's already in your head? But you say you write it all first and then go into drawing.
in my head, I have it when I write it out on the script. I mean, I know what the idea of what I want to put have in my head, but sometimes it doesn't translate well to page. You know, you might have an idea in your head and you try to put it to paper and it's like, nah, bro. But you know, so then you have to, you have to go ahead and make adjustments, even in the script sometimes. So that gives me freedom. So that's why I don't draw while I'm writing the script, because I don't want to end up being stuck somewhere. I'd rather work out the problem of the drawing while I'm in that phase and work around the script rather than working the script around the drawing, if you know
Right,
what I'm.
right.
It's a little bit more difficult. I don't want to have to change my writing to fit my drawing.
Okay. Okay, I like
So
that.
so that's why it's important for me, one, to have it fully written out, because then once everything's written out, when I go to draw it, I have a clear, not only what's already in my head, but having it written down and I see it physically too. You know, there's a mental image and the physical, words. Those are two separate things, believe it or not. A lot of us sometimes think, oh, it's in your head, and if you wrote it, it's the same thing. You don't need to write it. Not true. You always got to write it down,
You
because
always gotta write it.
always got to write it down, man. Because you may think one thing, and then all of a sudden you come out doing something else. And you're like, what the heck is this? So yeah. But after that, so I'll write the script out, complete it. My process for that is, as soon as I finish writing the script, I don't immediately go to drawing.
Why
Um,
not?
the reason why is because I was taught, I listened to another podcast called Making Comics. And these guys were actually a huge help in me getting my first issue done. I dedicated the first issue to Pantheon, to those guys and my wife. He was like,
Had to get your wife in there.
yeah, of course. But one of the things that they taught me was that it's very important to make sure that you're you're excited about what you write, and that what you write makes sense. If you and your first idea always sucks. So what that means, it's not always, and I think sometimes people take that the wrong way, thinking that, oh, the first got stuck, I got to scrap the whole thing. That's not always the case. But what it's kind of also saying is that sometimes you might have to do that if it just sucks that bad. But
Right.
if it doesn't, sometimes you just have to make some adjustments. And so what I do is I'll write the script and I'll put it away for like a week or 2 weeks. I'll and usually during that time I'll have my Kickstarter going on. I'm totally engrossed in something else other than the next part of the book.
Right.
And then what I'll do is I'll go back in 2 weeks and I'll have fresh eyes looking at it. And I'll go back and I'll see, oh, okay, dang, this is real wordy right here. This is I need to shorten that dialogue down, or I need to take the exposition and cut it, or how in the world we see saying this. I gotta, or I'll read through a scene and it's something that just doesn't fit what fit the message that I'm or the story that I'm trying to convey correctly. So I may have to scrap something, like that's not really necessary for the reader to know, either at this moment or I'm revealing something too soon. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're always that's the time that I take to kind of, change around some things and solidify certain ideas that I might have. And then once that is done and I'm satisfied with that, then I'll immediately then go into uh put in paper to, or in this case, I don't do physical, I do it digitally.
Right.
So I'll put, Apple Pen to iPad, and going.
So I mean that it seems like that helps your focus. Like you focus solely on the writing and then solely on the art. So it kind of keeps you like tunnel visioned on one thing so you don't kind of go off track.
Yeah, multitasking is a no-go for me. I mean, I could do it, but I do know that I suffer, my product suffers if I try to multitask
Mm.
things at the same time. So I would rather focus on one thing at a time, get it as right as I can make it, and then move forward to the next thing.
Right.
You know, um, I am a perfectionist, and this project is actually one that is is also a personal project and concerns with my artistic growth. And so being a perfectionist, and as you know, man, you make comics too, bro. You know, you look at something, if it don't look right, again, I don't like to look stupid. So if it looks dumb,
Right.
you know, you'll sit there being a perfectionist, you'll sit there and try to fix it and fixate on that one picture, that one panel forever and not move forward. For me, it was important to say, you know what, if you do this, you're going to need to get it as good as you can get it and then move forward. Because what that allows me to do is that it allows me to look back and look at my progress, not only in my art, but also my writing, all of that over time. So, and also the people that enjoy the book and read it can ride that ride with me too, you know? And that's how I figured that I can build a fan base that way too. So it's kind of a twofold thing. It helps me get rid of that imposter syndrome, you know. And look at me over here thinking I'm Jim Lee and Ryan Benjamin and Joe Kelly and stuff, thinking I can write. You know, I don't got to worry about that. You know what I mean? I just do what I can, do the best work that I can put out, and not stress over trying to make it perfect. If I don't like something that I did the most, if it's passable and it's good enough and it looks, it fits to my standard of quality, I'll move on. If I want, if I really still feeling that same way, I'm gonna go back later and fix it. You know, I'll
Mm.
fix it later on. So that's the idea with the once the first arc is finished, I'm gonna be doing a trade for that. That's where I'll go back and make those changes, you know, in the new trade to where I could be like, okay, I didn't like how I did this in the first issue. You know, my tones were off and janky in the first in the first issue. You know, I could tighten those up, you know, and make those look better. You know, I have a better knowledge of going through and handling my grays and having a better understanding of toning. I can go in and fix that up. My backgrounds, oh man, got a bunch of dang blank backgrounds. Go in and add some backgrounds to that. So it'll be, you know, a little different. And those changes that I want to make, I can do that in the trade. And two, that's what helps make, you know, the floppy issues, the individuals, a little bit more collectible. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because you know, if somebody's looking at comparisons, like, oh, in the trade, he got like a whole much more going on here, but in the first one, it's like
Right.
there going on, you know, still the same, but a lot of differences that they'll see. And I think that's kind of fun too.
Right. Yeah, it definitely is fun. Definitely give fans something, to like, look forward to, and like also, they were part of your journey. So they saw, the where they started as, and then once they get the trade,
Right,
they get to see the whole story, which is pretty
right,
dope.
right.
So also with that, as like myself, like as you were saying, a question came up. So myself as a comic book creator, like you said, we don't like to look dumb, and we also want to make sure our comics are fire. So when I go into like when I'm done a script, normally if I tell myself, bro, like this is fire, this is tough, I really want to see this. That's how I know
Right.
that I'm done with that script. What is something that happens with you in your script? What is something that speaks to you, and you're like, okay, this script is definitely done. I can, stop worrying about this and move on.
Story connectivity and emotional depth. If I'm feeling the feels and I'm like, oh man, like who did this? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's how I know I'm like, okay, or like, or in your case too, like I'm feeling excitement, you know,
Mm.
stuff like that. Anybody who's a perfect example of that is when I wrote issue 3. Issue 1, issue 2 was a lot of setup. It gave you a little bit of background in issue 1 about, you know, you kind of got to see the Demosians a bit. You got to see you know, Zell coming onto the planet, got to know a little bit of who he is. Issue 2 talked about his coming to Earth and all of that. Issue 3 was when the story really started moving. And other, you know, the part of the story where other his impact uh involved other people, or affected
Yeah.
other people. And going through that and seeing certain things, when I wrote that script, I was like, bruh, like, oh man, it's about to go down. I'm writing it and, going back, and I read that script multiple times, to make sure, because that to me was a very um pivotal issue. It was a shift in the way the story was going, because it was going to start getting really, really heavy at that point. Um, so when I look at a script and I read something and I have emotional impact of, feeling for the characters, or I'm getting really excited, that's how I know it's like, okay, cool. I may have some things where I'm just like, maybe I could add this or dialogue, but I'll leave that alone, because if it like I said, if I sit there and focus on that, I'll be changing stuff
All
up and
day.
forever. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I do enough to where the emotional part is hitting, everything meets the story beats, make sense, and I that's how I know I'm done. I finished the script for issue 5. When I finished the script for issue 4, I felt that too. I'm very hyped for issue 4, because again, the aftermath of what happens after 3 is like, bro, it's rough, and issue 5, you see everything finally really come to a head. And I'm not going to give away too much, but in issue 5, everything really comes to a head, and there's a change and a shift that happens where Pantheon really realizes that, you know what, the way I've been doing stuff and the way I think things need to be done, that ain't it. you know, that
Right.
ain't it. This is really messing these people up more than I even initially changed to realize when I first got here, So it's even deeper that he understands. So those are the things that I look for in a story. I get a lot of my story beats. I watch a lot of Japanese anime. I firmly believe the Japanese are some of the greatest storytellers on earth. Um, I've never and I wish American entertainment would really sit down and take some notes,
Right.
and learn storytelling. Don't just rely on tropes or all these things. They really take on personality, they really focus on emotion, they focus on character development. Those are the things that I want to focus on with Pantheon. And so with Pantheon, something that I call an American manga fusion, that's kind of the description I give it. um that that's the as far as the storytelling is concerned, that's something I'm going for. I want people to read Pantheon and root for Pantheon, and I want people to root for the bad guy too. I want them to do that. Japanese do that wonderfully, so I try to take a note from that and really apply that to what I write.
Okay. And that actually works into something that I want to ask you. So with you kind of actually already answered it, but so with your comic, when I was reading it, it feels more like a manga, and especially with the look, especially the look is a manga. It's black and white too. So I wanted to ask you, was manga a real big inspiration? And it sounds like it was.
Yeah, storytelling wise, it is. As far as the look is concerned, I am more American.
Right.
It has that American look, and also my style is heavily American comic books and cartoons. So
Mhm.
you'll see my guys, they're overly yoked up, they're like, you
Right.
know, they have that type of deal going. My women are women, it's all of that. But the black and white was honestly and if I'm be real, was a monetary decision and a decision of discovery. Um, Now I could get on a comic book and do a cover all day. I color it, draw it, color it, all of that all day, and I love it. But doing that in a comic book, bruh, that is not my steez. So
Right.
I found that out. I found that out real quick. I was like, this, sir, is not it. So,
Right.
and again, I wasn't gonna look dumb. So
Exactly.
what can I do? So I said, what can I do to still deliver, you know, to still make a good looking book, but still deliver the story impact that I'm looking for and save some cash because your boy don't got $60 a page money for colors. Okay. Even for any people, like nah. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna do grays and I'm gonna add some tones and create a fusion of a look of manga with an American style and influence to kind of then create a unique looking comic book, a comic book that looks a little different and but it's still familiar at the same time. And I'm glad to see that it works because when people look at my stuff, it's I've had I had one person sarcastically give me lip about it, and I've been doing this for 2 years, so I think that's a pretty good ratio. So most people do, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, most people. I'm just saying, not everybody's gonna like my style. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
most people that have looked at it and seen it do, and then especially when they see and they find out that I do everything myself,
Right.
they're like, "Whoa!" Like you put out the quality, and then people seeing how each issue progressively gets better, not only with story but also with art and also with character progression, all of those things. That's why I appreciate, the people are going on this journey with me too. And that's why I enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So what are some of the things that you are currently working on? You talked about a little bit, you just had congratulations on the Kickstarter that was just successful.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now? And not just with writing comics, also with like marketing and stuff like that. What are you currently working on and what challenges are you facing?
As far as the book is concerned, I learned with every single Kickstarter that I do. I have 4 issues out. I
Mhm.
kickstarted all 4 of them, but only 3 of them got funded. So
Mm,
the first issue I paid for direct out of pocket. The first issue did not fund. So I was like, you know what? Fine, that's cool. I'm gonna just take some money. I took $200. I was like, I'm gonna print these out and keep it moving, because I don't do a Kickstarter unless the project is complete. That's one rule
right.
that I set for myself. I'm not gonna be the dude who'll come out with a Kickstarter and haven't even started on the book yet. On a personal note, I think that's a little shady.
Okay.
Uh, People don't because uh, putting myself in the consumer shoes, if I'm going to invest in a product, I need to know what that product is.
Right.
You know what that product looks like. And with indie comics being the way they are, where they are literally one, you know, hit and miss at times, you're not sure if this story is even going to be finished. You know, you're afraid to invest your time, and now I'm asking you for money. I wanted to make sure that I had a ready to go product for someone to say, "Yo, this is the story. These are the pages. This is what it looks like. You know, it's done. So this is what you're paying for. And they actually see it,
Right.
so that the fear of, oh, well, I might not get it, or it might take forever to get to me. Those fears are gone. So for Obsidian Studios, and when whether it be for myself or other artists that I'll take on in the future, that join Obsidian, that's gonna be a gold standard. I'm not going to do a Kickstarter until the project is finished, and also too, I move in silence also. So until something is done, I don't talk about it. You know,
Ah.
that those things are super important because words, man, words. People hold on to that, bro. People hold on to it. I'm sure you know that, man. People hold on to what you say. And if you don't deliver, dude,
They don't forget it.
they don't forget it. And they'll always bring it back. And even if you do down the line end up getting it done, they're like, you know what? I'm good. you know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So I'm trying to build a reputation at the same time with Obsidian Studio. So go back to
Is
what I was saying.
real quick, I know you're still answering the question I had first, but does that something that's so for me that's also really important to build trust in with the fans and the consumers. So is that one thing that's like top of your list important for you to build trust with, the people that are buying the product?
Most definitely, bro. Most definitely. Without that trust, man, because real talk, dude, you sitting here, hey, I got this comic book that I drew. You don't know what it's about. It's not Batman and it's not Superman and it's not the Flash and it's not Thanos and it's not the X-Men. But give me your money.
Right.
Ting. Nah, bro. So you gotta you us indie creators have a harder road of convincing the consumer of all of that. It's a lot harder. We don't got the pockets. We don't got none of that stuff, man, that the big three do. So we've got to work twice as hard to get people to invest. Now, fortunately for us right now, I firmly believe we're in a I call it a comic book renaissance.
Yes, definitely.
The indie scene is exploding right now. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. So if I want to be a part of it and get a seat at the table, I don't care if I'm at the end. If it's going to take you 20 minutes to pass me the rolls, that's cool. But you want me to know I'm here and I earned my spot here. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm going to do that by building a reputation by saying, look, I've got a solid product here. It's got a solid story. It's got solid characters I think you'll enjoy. And here it is. Let me know what you think, you know. And the number one is creating a product that's done. And I've seen that people are more apt to donate and give to you when they see, oh, the product's already there. How'd you like to go to the supermarket and be like, hey, I want to buy some grapes? Be like, hey, you can pay for the grapes, but we getting the grapes in 2 weeks. Pay for them now. Pay for them now. Trust us. The grapes are coming. I'm good.
I don't know about that. I don't
Yeah,
know about
yeah, yeah, exactly.
that.
Yeah, I need the grapes today. I got a list, man. I got a honey-do list. Like I can't, no, I got grapes. I can't wait on grapes, man. Can't crowdfund me no grapes, bro. And so you gotta, yeah. So that's the, so that's the, you know, so it's super, super important. Super important.
Facts. Oh, but all right, back to the question that we were talking about. What are you currently working on and some of the challenges that you're facing?
Oh yeah. So I'm like I said, I'm learning Kickstarter every step of the way. Um, Marketing is a super hard thing for me. It's funny. I love talking about Pantheon and my projects, but I hate talking about myself. And I hate
Right,
shoving
right,
my stuff in their face, especially when it comes to because most of the people that I talk to are other creators as well. And a lot of times I'll go through and I'll check them out and hang out. They're like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing a lot. Oh yeah, tell me about it. I'm like, yeah, I got a comic book. Like, oh, what's your comic book, bro? Tell me about it. Okay, and then I'll get comfortable, and then they give me the okay to kind of pimp it. Be like, yeah, man, shoot your links and da da da. Then I'll feel okay. But that's still, I don't want to be that cat with that bad form, do a bad form of
right.
running up in their space, taking their steez. But I realize that is part of the process. It's part of that. So it's learning how to do that discreetly and making it happen. Managing Kickstarters while they're going, and this is the first time in issue 4 that I've done multiple gotten on podcasts to talk about Pantheon. So as of right now, I've done about 4 different podcasts.
Mm.
So, that is a new thing for me where I'm like, okay, I gotta learn how to get on these podcasts that are about indie focused, getting Pantheon out there and folks who are interested in indie books and letting them know about Pantheon, you know.
Right.
Going to cons right now. I've been going to cons for the last 2 years to make money, but the challenge has been finding the right cons to where people will be willing to spend money to read your book.
So how do you go about finding the right cons?
So the last 2 years, the last 2 years, man, we've done, my wife and I, we've done every sort of con you could think of, bro. You know, you know, do it, man. When we have encountered the good, the bad, and the ugly, bro. My goodness, man. So we're doing a lot of weeding out, figuring out what shows work, what shows don't, which ones are more apt for my audience for the book, which one is not. My wife does her thing too. She's a crochet artist, so she does crochet work. So, we tag team and work together and putting out our stuff together. But there's some times where, man, she'll outsell me, you know, or I'll also her, because I also do my prints and stuff and my illustrations and my artwork and stuff like that. But finding those cons where you'll find people that are interested in your book and what you're reading instead of just looky-loo, you know, is very difficult. So this year, actually in 2025, my wife and I discussed it, and we're probably going to step back a little bit more and reassess how we're going to go about taking the data that we got from the last 2 years and reflecting on what's worked. So doing smaller cons like independent cons, believe it or not, man, school-based cons that are done in elementary schools. If there's any indie artists out there that hear this, if you ever have a con in your area where a school is throwing the con for young people, do it. That's been the most success we've had is attending those. And then, like I said, cons that are specifically geared towards indie comic creation or any kind of creation from the creators themselves. We've done the big cons. We have one show where we were extremely successful. All the rest, they spent all their money on Benedict Cumberbatch before they could get to our table. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, they got their picture, they got their, signature and their autograph. They ain't got no money left. They spent the money getting in and getting their pictures and they dipping. And unfortunately, these big conventions aren't geared for the artists. They're geared for the celebrities. And so and they're not, and the people that attend these are not comic book fans, they're TV and movie fans. So, that's where we kind of lose out. So we've got to step back and reassess how we're going to do some things, and we're going to make some changes in the next coming year. But those have been the biggest challenges: learning how to speak up, to put myself out there in an appropriate way, and finding that balance of what's not bad form, but also making sure that at any opportunity where I'm allowed to speak about Pantheon and talk about it, that's the hurdle.
Have you thought about, making like TikTok videos and stuff?
So the TikTok videos, dog, I'm trash. And it's funny. Let me tell you something, dog. I got a background in social media marketing. I did social media marketing for like 3 or 4 years. When it comes to me, I'm garbage. I am trash at promoting my own stuff. Garbage, bro. And I don't understand it. I don't know. It's a middle block, whatever. Now, somebody else, oh, y'all blow up. You'll do good. Results based. But for me, myself, nah.
It'd be like that though. It'd be I feel I'm the same way. It's kind of like it's I don't know, it's kind of hard talking about yourself because you don't want to be like that person that's like, oh, I'm only talking about myself,
Right.
self-centered, but you gotta push what you do to sell it. But it's I'm the same way. And then when it's other people, you talk them up. You're like, oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like this is some big deal. But
Yeah.
I think it's especially with us as artists, it's kind of we spend so much time with the art. It's kind of hard for
Exactly.
us to like really talk about ourselves.
Right. And then how social media works too. Information comes in and out so fast.
Mm.
I'm the type of person that doesn't like to do the same thing over and over again. So
Hmm.
knowing that I got to make 3 posts a day talk about the same exact thing every day for 30 days during this Kickstarter campaign. I don't even know if I'm gonna make money on this campaign yet. The last thing I'm worried about is that social media posts. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure I make money, on this book so I can print it and get it out to the people. But that's something that has to be done. It's just, so like I said, it's along with all of those things that I'm learning that if something doesn't work on this campaign or it wasn't as much as on this campaign, okay, next campaign I need to take what I learned from there, apply it to the next one, and go even more and apply this strategy here. And that's what I'm hoping to do. By the time the Kickstarter for the trade for the first arc is ready to be kickstarted, I kind of want to have the process down pat. I want to have the system down pat. I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna have, you know, 10, 15 podcast shows lined up talking about it. I want to have, certain, social media posts lined up about it, whatever the case may be. Just have something set to where it'll just be. Now, the dream, of course, is to have somebody that does all that for you. But you
Right.
got that money, not your boy. Okay. So you got to do all that yourself. And so that's another thing too about being an indie artist is that you got to also be your own. You're not just a comic book creator. You're your own social media marketer. You're your own marketing agency and firm. You're your own, uh, uh, you're your own tax person. Your own everything. Your own financials. You got to learn all that stuff on your own. So again, and I have to be one at a time. I can't multitask. So it's so much, man. It's a lot, but that's a part of the journey and it's a part of doing indie comics.
Exactly. It's definitely you do. Once you jump into this, I think people don't really understand. I didn't understand it when I first jumped into it, is that you're everything. You are everything. If you mom, dad, you brother, sister, uncle, you
Right.
all that when you create comics, especially starting out first jumping in. But also with this comic book creating, this comes a lot of stuff. So also with that, what are some of your highs and your lows of comic book creating? And don't be shy. Don't be shy. Go into it.
Uh, so you are so when you say my highs and lows, are you talking about the best experiences and the sorriest experiences, or like
Yeah, let's say your best experience and your worst experience.
okay,
In either order you want to tell them
okay, my biggest high
in.
when I first when I got Pantheon issue 1 back from the printer in my hand for the very first time, I cried like a punk, man.
Facts.
That was that to me, and it wasn't like, oh, this is just a like a little fun little project I did. No, this is issue 1 of Ian Walker's Pantheon from Obsidian Studios. I turned the book around. The Obsidian Studios logo was on the back. I flipped it around. I turned the inside cover had credits. It was a legit comic book, bruh. I cried, man. I cried. My wife was here with me, and she's just like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "It's finally came. It finally happened." Now I did a comic book before. I did the last little one shot, little project of a superhero I did before, again under the Obsidian Studios banner back in 2009. But this was different. This is a journey that I've started, and it was the beginning. It's my IP, bro. It's in my hands, dog. I held it in my hands and like this could possibly be an animated movie. This could possibly be a full-length feature film somebody will see and pick up and be like, we need this. You know, it was mine. Nobody could take that away from me. That was the biggest high I've had. Biggest lows came between issue 2 and 3. Between issue 2 and 3, I was 2 weeks late in behind. I was 2 weeks behind schedule, and I credit my wife for getting me back on track. When I get there's times where I will get very overwhelmed, where I have a lot to do, and one of my escapes, usually my escape is drawing, right? but it's not this time. Why? That's my job,
Right.
right? So, so what I do now is I well, and I've always done. I'm a huge MMORPG player. I love MMOs. So Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, those type games. So my wife, oh, and I like developing. I also develop board games and tabletop games. So
Tough. That's tough.
yeah, so I was doing everything but getting Pantheon done. And my wife's like, "Oh, you're working on this? Oh, okay. You're doing this? You're working on this? Okay, cool." And she saw it later on. Oh, I see you're doing that. Finally, a week passes, and she's like, "Oh, you still working on the game? Yeah. Oh, you still playing games? Yeah. I just need a break, baby. I just need a break. You know, I just need to." Week and a half goes by. She's all, "So what happened to Pantheon issue 3? Something that keep going because you know you said that this and this and this," and I was like, "Yeah, girl, you right, you
You
right."
right. You right.
So I took the rest of the day. I played my games. I did that, and then the following day, I got back on the horse and I finished out what I was doing. And I wouldn't call it a low because it wasn't really a low. It was just a period of time where I got so overwhelmed because, again, I suck. I suck at multitasking. So, and I want to do so many things, and I have ideas for so many things, and I love tabletop games. I love D&D. I love that. So right now I was developing my own tabletop RPG. I'm still doing that now. I was doing so much stuff that was just kind of helping me to kind of escape for a moment, give me like a breather real quick. That was pretty that was real low. But no, that wasn't low. It was just a situation that, okay, you know what, dog? Hold up. I'm a liar. I do have a low. I do have a low.
Okay. Okay.
I do have a low. And you'll talk to other people in anything who was here at this con with me. They will agree because it was their low too. San Antonio, Texas, superhero con. I sold not a single issue of Pantheon. We only made, we just barely made table. It was a 4-day convention. We should have made thousands, and we only made hundreds. And it was the low end. It was pretty much the fee for the table. It was $400. That was a lot. That was a lot. It wasn't low enough to where I'm like, well, that's a lot. Because I was thinking for a moment, I was like, is this worth it? No, no, no. It's always worth it. I get that out. I get that out immediately. It's always worth it. Now, after that show, that was a low, but the thing that kind of was the nail in the coffin was when in-laws and family heard about it. The in-laws and the family heard about it, and they found out. They're like, "Oh, you guys have been working so hard. Is this worth it? Is this a real? Because I don't see how that's a real job. How's he sitting there drawing and you're okay with this and da 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 blah blah,
Oh,
you know, expecting me to break my back and all that stuff to do that kind of work. And that's the thing, I can't do that type of work because I do have physical health issues. Can't tell because my pimp walk is so tight, but my pimp tight because of my health issues. But 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 you know those doubts that get planted by people that are close to you and are supposed to be family and doubt your journey and what you're trying to pull off, which then compounds as being a man saying, are you doing enough to provide for your family? That hits.
right.
And those are those times where I get pretty low. And it's because I'm just like, you know what? Is this really working? Now to my wife, everybody, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do this. We gotta keep going. We gotta Because before I had a lot of false starts. I would start something, didn't see it through. Start something, didn't see it through. This time I'm like, nah, ain't nothing stopping me. If this is the only comic book thing I do, I'm gonna see this through to the end. This is
Right.
a legacy I'm leaving behind. It has to be finished. The
Mhm.
only way it can't be the only way it ain't gonna get finished is if the skies open up and Jesus come out of them and he says, you're done. And I'll be like, yes, Lord. I'll put
Yes.
down the pen. You know what I'm saying? That's the only
Right.
time. That's the only time, bro. So that um that's those are times when I'll have those lows and just wondering, like, man, everybody here is doubting me. I know what I got is good, but at the same time, the fam does gotta eat. They do gotta, you know, that those responsibilities of being the head of the household, being a protector, being a provider, all of that. It is super important. And I have no qualms with dropping. Honestly, I haven't real talk. I don't have any qualms with dropping a pencil if my family's life depended on it or whatever, and their well-being. Dude, a pencil and paper could kick rocks. But
Facts.
but you know, if we're surviving and we're doing good and we're doing fine and we're not and everything is okay, it's just a matter of us tightening up how we spend or whatever the case may be. We'll make those adjustments until no more adjustments can be made. It's going to need to
Right.
be drastic. So I'm going off on a tangent, and I have a tendency to do that.
Oh,
But
it's all
that's
good. This is a good tangent. I
but
like this.
yeah, but that's sometimes where I'll hit those lows, and those come up every once in a while. But yeah, that's why it's so important for me to keep things close to the chest and move in silence. And I'd rather come out like, bam, I did this. Be like, whoa, wait a minute, when were you doing that? Yeah, see, you don't know because I'm behind the scenes working. I don't just sit up and just do nothing. I'm putting in work. You know,
But it work, yeah.
yeah,
That's But yeah, it's sometimes that definitely can be hard to deal with, especially since like our outlet is our art, and then if our art is kind of what we're doing like a job, once that becomes like stressful, how do we find outlets? Which is good that you got games and you got other things that you do to help you you know get a break because you do as even though you like your wife got you back on track, but sometimes it is good to take that break for a
yeah,
minute and then come back because like you said earlier in the interview, you said that you'll when you finish a script you'll leave it and then come back to it 2 weeks later and then go over it with fresh eyes. Like even the whole thing of comic book creating, we need that in all of it. Like, like there's times where I definitely just be like, yo, I don't want to touch my phone today. I don't even want to get on social media. You feel me? Like, I don't even want to see a notification. So, so sometimes it gets hard to balance that stuff.
yeah. And I'm working all the time. My wife tells me I work too much. She goes, you do too much. I'll be up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And we all know, all of us artists know that work is the most fire at between 1:45 and 4 a.m. That I
It's,
mean, that's the sweet spots, man.
it
Them
is.
hours right there, bruh. So all the hours before is procrastination or other things, you know what I mean? But it's like, but that 1:45 to 4 a.m. Woo, sheesh, man. I finished whole comic books at that time and was like, yeah,
Yeah.
go to sleep. Now I've earned my bed. You know what I mean? And you look back and it be fine. And then you wake up in the morning like, yeah. you know. But, again, gotta take care of yourself. You gotta, self-care is super important. You have to do it mentally, physically, all of that. Yeah.
Okay. So my last question of this conversation, which has really been dope. You've given a lot of gems. I think that definitely will help creators coming up. But my last question is one of my favorite questions, and that is if you could give advice to either yourself starting out or just another random creator starting out, give them advice if they want to step into the comic book creating business. What advice would you give them?
I might answer both of those.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
I'm gonna answer. So the first one, if I might answer, so if I me myself now would go back and meet my past self, and I'm gonna say back in 2008, I will go back and say, don't stop, keep going, don't stop. When I started in 2008, I started at a time where a new renaissance had started of online streaming. Ustream was a big one back then. Ustream doesn't exist no more, but that was at the beginning of streaming your art online and drawing live for people. I was one of those cats, along with a couple of us, who did sketch cards. I still do sketch cards to this day. You go online, draw live, and do that. Had I kept with that and not let outside influences, family, before, stop me from going forward and continued on with my comic book journey and ideas, I would be a lot farther now than I was back then, than I am now. So that's what I would tell myself. No matter what, don't stop. You're going to hit a hard road, but this is going to keep you safe. Do not quit. Do not stop doing what you're doing. Because I know my style would have been better. I know my career would have been on a different trajectory. Indie wise, I would always be indie, but it would be a lot different. To answer your second question, somebody that's wanting to join to learn comic books and stuff, first thing I'd say, join my school. I'm starting this year. I'm actually starting a comic book creation academy called Ian D. Walker Art Academy. It's on school.com. So the focus of that is teaching people everything that I've done and that I've learned on how to create a comic book from concept to getting it into the stores and showing it off at shows from jump. So it's not just, oh, I'm gonna show you how to draw muscles, show you how to draw chicks, and now go make your own book. No, it's the whole entire process. So I'm building a community where people can hang out. We learn from each other. You get resources from one another because everybody's doing the same thing. That opens the door for collaborations that are easy right there. So, and then I'm also opening the door for personal one-on-one mentorships as well. So that's why I would tell somebody one. But if you're like, nah, I can't do that, Mr. Walker. I can't pay $1 yet. You know, what I want to do is I want to do it by myself because I'm 8 and I can't pay bills. Okay, here's what you do. You go to the library, you buy books on books on books on how to draw anatomy, and you buy muscle magazines and you buy whatever. And this is unorthodox information. Start tracing. Start tracing all the pictures you see. Start tracing. Get comic books that you like. Start tracing. And then you start learning and copying, and then start watching YouTube videos of your favorite artists that you like from those comic books. Watch and see how they did it. But also, not just looking at comic books, look at people who draw real people as well and learn that. When I first started being professional, one of the biggest critiques I had was, Ian, your drawing is cool, but your anatomy sucks. I'm like, shut up, man. I'm drawing sucks. You ain't got to tell me about anatomy. My muscles are tight. Shut up. For a year, for a year, dog, I was hearing that, Ian, learn anatomy, bro. Your anatomy is kind of weak, bro. Yeah, get out of here, bro. One day, I learned anatomy, and I was like, Ian, your anatomy's weak, bro. It was garbage. Yeah. So, and that's because I didn't go back and learn those fundamentals. Always go and learn those fundamentals. But there's nothing wrong with tracing that. Now, don't trace and post up work and say you drew that. Stop. That's strictly for exercise, building muscle memory, building a visual library, building all of those different things for yourself. Building habits too. And then unlearning those, because one of the things that important in comic book creation is not only learning habits, but also unlearning habits. If you learn how to unlearn a habit, it's easier, I think, for a person to grow as an artist. But you can't unlearn a habit if you don't know, how to break it, right? So
Right.
by tracing, you're gonna have to break that habit of wanting to trace everything by now, okay, I'm gonna have to learn how to copy using my eye to correctly and accurately measure, how to, do all those things. Sometimes we don't got the time to be, you know, and eight heads and all that stuff. You gotta use your eyes to be able to measure all of that stuff. So you unlearn that habit of tracing, or you unlearn that habit of drawing in that style, drawing like Jim Lee, and you trying to draw like Jim Lee, but you're like, oh, that's Wolverine. Oh, really? That's Wolverine? I thought that was the Toxic Avenger. You gotta good job. You gotta unlearn that. You know what I'm saying? you know. so so you gotta, you know, and that's how you learn. You learn by creating habits and unlearning habits, adapting and creating new habits based on that, you know. So that's the advice I would give to somebody. But the easiest way to do that, man, join school.com/ID, the ID Walker Art Academy. You can do that too. It's easy. I'll
Shameless
guide
plug.
you to it. Guide you through
Shameless.
it.
Hey, well, that's dope. Well, that was my last question. This has been a
Yeah.
really dope conversation, man.
Yeah.
Before we get out here, is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say? Anything you
Yeah.
want to put out there? This is your time to just to fire it off.
All right. So, few things. So, issue 4, Pantheon,
Mhm.
has just been funded on Kickstarter. You guys heard earlier. So that's going to be coming out next year. I'm going to be finalizing a date on that soon. Once the funds kick in, once the Kickstarter funds come in, then I can accurately, predict get a date set down in stone after I work out those logistics. But it is coming very early in 2025.
Mm.
So, um, another thing, I am starting a project, or I'm actually currently working on an I don't know how you say this. Well, twice yearly anthology called Illustrata. And what it is, it's an anthology of various independent creators where you submit your ideas and your stories, and if and we'll create have a theme for each one, and if I'm down with it and it works, you possibly be put in. So right now, working on the first issue of Illustrata, that's going to be up on Kickstarter in the next few months. So I'm like now taking the time. I see you said learning from the last one, because see I didn't plug before Kickstarter, so doing the plug for that, letting people know that Illustrata is going to be out soon, and the Kickstarter for that will start very soon. And then another thing that I mentioned before, I am starting my art academy. It's a school.com, SKOOL.com/ID Walker or Ian D. Walker Art Academy. It's for drawing and for comic book creation. And it's an art academy, but it is also a community. So there's a difference with this right now. I'm taking 25 members. The first one, it is paid. So the first members are $1. You will be grandfathered in. So $12 a year. You'll be grandfathered in. After 25, it's going to go up. But you're going to get a wealth of information. You're going to get courses from myself. Other friends of mine in the indie comic scene will be contributing their information, their stories, their tips. Some of them will take some courses and show tips and things like that. Weekly art jams where we'll not only just get together and draw pictures, but we're critiquing one another and we're helping each other out there. So it's more than just sitting there drawing and, oh man, that's a dope Hulk. His muscles a little whack, but I like that. It's and I'm doing that because it's important for an artist to learn how to take a critique.
Right.
It's important
Yeah.
because you don't know how, you're not going to learn how to learn. But this is a safe environment where you could do so. And the best advice you can get is from people who do the same thing you do. And the worst advice is somebody who doesn't do what you do. So the advice is going to be coming from people that do the same thing as you do. So it's being built right. You can join it right now. but it's going to be continue being built from the ground up. Constant information and content is going to be added. It's going to be cool, and once we get enough people in there, when that price goes up, man, it's going to be a nice exclusive club. But it's also going to be those who are very serious about it. And from those people in there, I'll be choosing 3 in 2025 to do one-on-one mentorships with. It'll be a little bit more, but it's the full package of everything that a person can learn. Like I said, how to start from concept to getting your books in your local stores, other stores, whatever, that process that we take. And then out of one of those, if they wish, and I think their stuff is fire and I think it's amazing, I think they can do well, they're good learners, then hopefully having their title added to Obsidian Studios. So that's what's going on.
Hey,
Follow me on ID Walker Art on Instagram, Facebook, The Art of Indie Walker. And those are pretty much the 2 main places I'm at. I'm also ID Walker Art on TikTok. I can't stand TikTok, man. I can't do it, bro. I try. I know I didn't try hard enough, but I can't. I know I should, but I need to hire a kid that can do that better than me. But Instagram, Facebook's the best place to reach me. I'm only a text away. You can always reach me through text. It's the best way to get a hold of me. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I went hard with that plug, didn't I?
you did.
So
Hey, that's what it's for. I told you, fire them off. That's what it's for. Hey, but once again, thank you for coming on. It's been a great conversation. And also, fans, Ian will be back for what I like to call comic book breakdown, where he breaks down the page. So there'll be another video of comic book breakdown for you guys. But thank y'all for watching, and thank you, Ian, for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Thanks so much.